Hey guys, how's it going? It's Derek with Myths and Legends, and let's take a walk. So as of recording this video, I haven't posted the previous one. By the time you're seeing this, it'll be out. But I figured I'd mention that because, well, this is going to be related. I don't think this will be a half-hour let's take a walk video. I'm already across the bridge and I'm planning on just walking straight home. Tomorrow, again as of recording, tomorrow is my girlfriend's birthday, and so I put her gift together and wrapped it up and got it ready. It's quite a nice piece of jewelry that I found. So anyway, yeah, this video is going to relate to the last one. And the last one I was just kind of letting my mind wrestle and expand on the idea of a nation, or how to define a nation, if that could be a belief system. And you know, and I apologize for the noise, I've got a bag, I shouldn't be swinging it around. And it related to the discussion that Jordan Peterson had with Joe Rogan, and the idea of a particular nation being quite old and prevailing because of its attempt to uphold appropriate behavior, truth-telling, and so on. Okay, so well, on the side, it was actually the next day of recording that video. I recorded it at night. The next day I had to go meet with my pastor down at the Mountain View Lutheran Church. A strange sound. So spoke with him, he gave me some reading materials, and then I started my studying for the on-board process for the church. It's not exactly an official thing, it's just, you know, you can imagine how individuals might feel isolated if they're not caught up even a little bit compared to those who grew up in the church, right? So this on-board process it includes some reading materials, some prayers, some thought-provoking questions and meditations, some teachings, you know. And so I started mine, and you know, I really like to dive deep into these things. And so the first section is, okay, read Genesis 1 and 2. So nice small sections to go. 3 questions each, just about. So 3 questions for 1 and 2, and the first question is, why is it important that you know, God is the creator of the cosmos, of the universe, you know, of all things? Yeah, and I had put mine together in 10.5 pages. My answer is 10.5 pages long, and I feel like I could keep going, you know. So it's going to take me a while. Thankfully, I got all the materials long before starting the on-board process. You know, my goal here is to actually become a serious theological thinker. You know, I've gone deep into philosophy and psychology, and I'm planning on going very deep into theology as well. And let's include history into that. So that's fun. Anyway, so while I was answering that first question, a portion of it uncovered some stuff that should have been obvious that I didn't come up with the night of my previous video. The idea of a nation. It's like, well, and some of you probably watching it could be screaming it at the screen, you know? Like, Derek, they refer to it as a nation, you know? when Abram's name is turned into Abraham, he's like, God's like, I'll create nations of you, or from you, whichever one is most appropriate. It's like, well, duh. And is that nation Egypt? In the case of Moses, no, it's not Egypt. Is it in the various locations in the desert as they wander through the wilderness? No, it's not land, right? Does it have a particular flag at the time? No. Okay then. So I do think that was what Jordan Peterson must have been referencing. If he truly has, and I think he has, gone deep into the Old Testament, then this is something he must have been contemplating. I was reading my study version of the Bible. I got a few different versions, but I was going through the which one was it? Is it the New American Revised? Is that what it's called? One of the American Revised. So anyway, I was going through it, and one of the notes they had in there was nice, and it's like, yeah, well, this sort of connected family, and it has a nice graph of the genealogy from Adam up into Noah, eventually down to Abraham, and so on. Says, this is the backbone of our stories here. This family that we'll be tracking, and the fact that the word nation is tied deeply to it is it's pretty awesome, and it stuck out to me. And I thought, well, man, and I'm not as deep into the Bible as even the most regular Christian is. So yeah, it should have jumped out and screamed at me, but the collection of books hasn't become a part of me yet. It's not a part of my subconscious. Doesn't just throw theological suggestions up at me. And I guess that's why I've been talking about it a lot on here, is so that I can become integrated with it on a deep level. Hopefully one day a profound level. That's the hope. I want to keep building on it throughout my whole life. So yeah, the nations that would come of Abraham, I think, include America. Not necessarily the totality of America. There's plenty of folks here as individuals that don't subscribe to that idea or want to tie themselves to that idea. But the tradition as a whole, our laws are predicated on the idea that there's a spark of divinity within each of us. And I talked about that in the last video. So I had made connections, but it's just the idea that the translation, the word nation, is used. It's used as such. So and even that nation has been fractured, right, since the beginning. But after all this time, is one of the nations that has prevailed. Where are the Sumerians now, right? Where are those who once worshipped Marduk? Where are those who once worshipped Zeus? Okay. So very few have survived. And those that have survived, well, three of which, of the big ones, share the same roots. Okay? And that's not trivial. That's not trivial at all. Then, from that branch off various pagan traditions, however they're related, through the past, twisted versions of modern evangelicalism, whatever the history may be, are still rooted or still attached to this widespread tree. I know Christians like to think of it as, you have your Orthodox side, your Catholic sort of center of historic origin, and then the Protestant side, and then the arguments of what's canonical, what's not canonical, whatever. Those only seem distant when you're in their tradition and understand it enough to where you can see those differences. They seem a little bit larger on scale, and I think I've mentioned that. But they're closer than a lot of people within the tradition seem to think. And then further out, you've got some pagan traditions. I mean, look. Let me pull the bag around you guys here. Part of my study. Christians tend to be quite defensive. And that causes a lot of them to throw out a lot of ideas, or be defensive about a lot of ideas. And like one of the things I came across in my study where they were talking about the Sumerian, was it Sumerian? No, it was the Mesopotamian creation story. And they showed the similarities, but then tossed out the connection. And there are plenty of differences, but there are connections. And I wrote this in my notes. It's like maybe, that adds to the profundity of the Bible. Because what it tells me is that the oral tradition prevailed into another culture, as that culture genuinely, I believe, was seeking truth. There's a tendency, I think, of the common Christian to see every other religion as an attack onto their belief system. But there's a historical relationship that I don't think is, in the modern day, needs to be viewed as conflict. So I do think that there's some profound relationship between the Mesopotamian creation myth and Genesis. And to me it makes Genesis even more profound than if that connection weren't there. And there's a whole bunch of these. And I don't want to ever discount them, especially as somebody who's interested in studying pattern and mythology, the poetic patterns, truth-seeking through them. I don't want to just throw them out. I would never worship them in a theological sense, but I appreciate them in a symbolic sense. I mean, humans deserve dignity, and the stories that last that long deserve some respect. I respect humans. I respect our stories. I think it's one of the most important things we can do is carry on these traditions. we shouldn't shy away from stories. I absolutely would consider it a conflict. I get defensive about the people who want to destroy theologies, because then what are your motivations? Not good. So that I take defenses up on. But I don't get my panties in a bunch about Greek mythology or Mesopotamian mythology, and if I find connections, I go, okay, there's truth in this. My bias happens to be that I think that the books within the Bible contain the truth, rooted to the truth, to the ultimate reveal of pattern, something like that. Yeah, I believe that. Better pick one, You better. Or one picks you, really. You read and one picks you, it stands out and grabs you by the face, essentially, and smashes your nose down into its words. You can't help it, It chooses you. So anyway, yeah, America in a lot of ways is a continuation of the traditions of Christianity, stemming out of a Greek tradition, moving into a Roman tradition, right? Almost dying off, being revitalized in a lot of ways, being politicized, being turned into all sorts of things, good and bad, but prevailing nonetheless. So, anyway, I've made it home. That'll be the end of my short video. I'll post it after I get the old one out there, and I have another one that went unfinished that I might edit into a cohesive thing, and then anyway, be good. Love you guys. Hopefully see you again soon. Bye.